My name is Roland Hodson. I've been the team leader on the Chars Livelihood program for the last 5 years. So we have worked during those 5 years in 700 villages, and today we're visiting one of those villages where about 600 people, 600 families live here, and we're working, the CLP is working with about half of those families, and these are the families who had no land and no assets, and particularly no livestock. So we're here today to assess how the program has gotten on after the last 2 or 3 years. Well, it's very gratifying to come and see the 300 households here in this village who've received a cow from the CLP. They've also received training on vegetable gardening and tree plantation, so I can see a lot of mango trees which are doing very nicely. I can see eucalyptus trees which are doing very nicely. And the cows are looking exceptionally good. They've all been dewormed every 6 months. But as well as deworming the cows, we've been deworming the children. And this is perhaps one of the most important things we need to do. One of the biggest problems for this village and all across this part of Bangladesh is chronic malnutrition and illness among children. 40 or 50% of the children are seriously medically malnourished and stunted, and that means that their brains are not developing properly and their whole life's future are going to be compromised for a few thousand calories when they're young, and that's a big tragedy. That's what we're working to try and prevent. So one of the most meaningful things to me that we've done is to organize these weekly clinics in which a trained paramedic comes to the village and sees the sick children and sick mothers particularly. And in an average week, about 40 mothers bring their children for treatment. Some of it is normal fever and diarrhea, but there are a lot of very serious skin diseases and other diseases. In the last month, from this village alone, we have referred 6 patients for care that they would not have received. They have to leave the island here and go to the mainland for care. But this is one of the more important ways to help prevent people falling into poverty, because what often happens is people get sick and they have to sell their cow to get the money to pay for health care. So we're trying to prevent people falling back into poverty by having to sell their assets or taking loans in order to pay for the health care which they must have. So this is very gratifying to see, and that unfortunately huge crowd of people, 40 people waiting to see the paramedic today, so I think we better move on now. So one of the problems that we've wanted to work on is the problem of open defecation, because people didn't have access to any toilets or latrines. So we've had a big latrine building program. Now, one of the problems that comes up is here in front of us. People have very little space, just a few hundred square feet to have their whole homestead. So sometimes it's difficult to fit the latrine and the house and the vegetable garden and the well onto the same plinth. And one of the things we are trying to do is to make sure there's maximum distance between the latrine and the tube well, for obvious reasons. We don't want the tube well water to be contaminated. But the latrines have done a marvelous job of giving convenience to women and children. They don't have to go out in the bushes even at night where there are snakes and other problems where they can be harassed. So it's been a wonderful thing, particularly for the women and children, to have the latrines. And it is also helping to reduce diarrheal disease. Now we still have to do some more on the drinking water supply in the years to come.